Welcome to episode 5 of Perception of Time, Tales of the Road. My next guest is David Rodgers from Godhunter. Destroyer Light did a split with them back in 2015 called Godhunter versus Destroyer of Light. We also did a pretty big United States tour with them in support of this record. And David Rodgers also is a co-founder of Southwest Terrorfest in Tucson. He invited Destroyer of Light out back in 2014, and we're forever grateful for him for having us. We made a lot of friends and connections through that. He also had a record label called Battleground Records, and I helped him do independent booking with his bands and other underground bands in the scene throughout the year. So I haven't talked to him in a while. It'll be great to catch up, and I hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Cue the music. All right. I'm here with David Rodgers. How you doing, man?
Uh, Good as possibly can be, Steve. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Man, we haven't talked in a very long time, so I'm happy we're able to catch up.
I think the last time was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I know you guys were at the house in, what was it, 2016, 2017, somewhere in there when you were doing a Pacific Northwest run. But if I remember right, that was the last time we were actually face to face other than just texting.
Yeah. You're about right. I want to say it was 2017.
It's awesome. Well, it's good to see you again. We've been through a lot since then.
Yes.
As people and a society.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in. It's uh
like yeah, we went through COVID. I got cancer, went through a whole stem cell transplant, and um they call me a whole new person now. You died and been reborn, which that's wild. I've never done that before. So yeah, it's been an exciting few years for me, for sure.
would you say it feels like you were reborn again?
Without sounding too cheesy, Steve, kind of, yeah, because um before before the cancer and before the COVID, I think I was a more miserable and depressed person a lot of the times. Like had kind of a rough life growing up and lived in foster homes and stuff. So I've always been a bit like, defensive and um some people call it aloof. I call it restrained. I'm not the most sociable person in the world. But I'll tell you what, when you nearly die of cancer and you see the world shut down over COVID and everything, if that does not completely reset your brain chemistry, I don't know what will. But I do feel like a somewhat different person now. Um, I check in with my friends a lot more. I talk to people a lot more. Send a lot more memes. You gotta get those laughs in.
Yeah.
Because I think that I used to take life for granted, um, being in the army and making it through that without anything weird or bad happening, being in bands and make it through it. And you kind of start feeling a bit indestructible, like, life's just a piece of cake. And then it just hit me like a steamroller. And now I just have an entirely different view on life now than I did 3 years ago.
That's great. You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you look really good. You look like the Dave Rodgers I know. So
I got that's the thing. I got bone cancer, so my cancer is on the inside, and literally on the inside of my bones, between the marrow and the inside of the bones. It eats out the bones from the inside, like cavities in your teeth. So, other than me losing all my hair and my beard for a while, from the chemotherapy, the melphalan, I lost some weight, gained some weight back, but it's still pretty much me. Just physically, I'm about 80% of what I used to be. You know me, back in the day, I could pick up a 4x12 cabinet on my shoulder and walk it up a flight below the venue.
Yeah,
Probably can't do that anymore. My back's shot now. L4 collapsed. I lost 70% of height in seconds when it collapsed. So, they fix that, but it's never back to normal again.
I got you. But at least 80%. I mean, you still be able to do a lot. You just can't do like heavy lifting type things. And
That's it. I just got limits. My endurance has a limit now that it didn't used to have, and my back has a limit that it didn't used to have in the past, where it's like, okay, you've done enough today.
so you usually have to like time your work ethic in a way, or
Yeah, it's changed things. Like when I used to walk my dog, we go out walk 4 or 5 miles like it's nothing, hiking in the hills and everything. Now, with the pain and whatnot, I gotta like stop every mile and sit down for 5 minutes and let the pain recede, and then I can get back and get to work again. It's the same thing, like even if I'm just like cleaning the house like I was today, I can vacuum for like a half hour or so, but then I gotta sit down and take a 5-minute break and just let the pain go out of my leg and my back until it recedes, and then start over until it gets to the point where I can't handle it again.
and at this point you're probably getting used to it, right?
Unfortunately, yep, getting used to it because, this is my life now. The cancer I have is incurable, so I will be on chemotherapy for the rest of my life. The doctor says about 8 to 10 years maybe from this therapy. I'm a year out from my stem cells, so I've checked one of those off. But I'm always been stupid healthy, so I'm hoping that I'm an outlier and I get more than 10. Maybe I end up with 15 or 20. Fingers crossed.
And have they done more research on bone cancer and ways to
Yeah, they're always doing oh boy. All the cancer research in America has just ground to a fucking halt because of our idiot in charge currently. But other than that, yes, they're constantly researching it and whatnot. And there's a couple therapies that they're CAR T therapy, which you may have heard of for different illnesses. They're hoping that someday they might get that to a point where they can keep the myeloma under control. There's also some, they're doing a lot of work with the mRNA vaccines, and they think they might be close to actually developing a cancer vaccine for certain types of cancers. I don't know if mine is under that right now, but mostly what we did, like with my stuff being incurable, what the stem cell transplant does is buy me time, right? In order to stop my cancer, what we had to do, right? They put a cool port in my chest for one. I was a little cyborg for a while there.
Hell yeah.
Anatomy. So they go into that one day and they start pulling your blood out and filtering it, and they scoop all of your stem cells that are in your blood, right? I had to take this weird medicine like 2 days before, and your stem cells are normally inside your long bones, right? Your femurs, your hip, breastbone, stuff like that. This medicine forces all of them out of there. And it was weird, Steve. It feels like your bones are squeezing to get the stem cells out. And yes,
That is crazy.
oh, dude, it was a weird. It's maybe a little uncomfortable, but mostly just weird as hell.
It's
To
like
feel your like bones tighten in your body. So then I go in, they hook me up, they scoop all the stem cells out of my blood, store those in a big freezer. And then like 2 days later, they take you in and they give you this dose of melphalan, which is literally like a black sludge in a bag. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen that you could put. I'm like, there's no way that's actually what that looks like. And they're like, yeah, we call it black sludge. Like that's a good name for it. So I get 2 days of that, and that killed all of my bone marrow in my body, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the third day, they give you your stem cells back. right? So it takes the melphalan like 5 to 7 days to kill all your stem cells, to kill all your bone marrow. But then it takes about 7 to 10 days for your stem cells to turn back on and start working. So there's a nice gap in there of about 3 to 5 days where you're dead. If I was not in a hospital and constantly being attended to by nurses, checking your blood, checking your temperature, all that, like you're out. Um, and that period was wild because your brain kind of knows that you're dying. So all of that unreleased trauma you have in your head over years, your brain just floods all of that out. So I was having nightmares about being back in Haiti, being back in Somalia back in the day. I had nightmares about coding out in the hospital, like thinking, like in my dream, I'm screaming and shaking, and nurses are doing it. And then I'll wake up and I'll be just like laying in my bed, just drip sweating. And it's just like, this is wild. So, um, those 3 days were a hot mess. But then by about, day 9 to 10 or so, you start climbing back out of it again. By day 15, I was good. And they sent me home and they're like, you're really responding to well. I am a Scotch Irish mutt. Our people, that's why they put us in the mines. We're hard to kill.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, it's
so
true.
so they were like, hey, you're doing good, you can go home, got to be careful and everything. And from there it was just a long period of like, for a while I can't eat fresh fruits or vegetables or anything that's uncooked and stuff like that. I couldn't smoke weed for a long
Ooh,
time,
dang.
which, if for me, that was that was something else right
That was the
there.
hardest thing for you right there, right?
Oh man, because there's no appetite. You're not sleeping right. It's nothing. So there eventually, I think at like 30 days out, I could do edibles. At 60 days out, I could like smoke a joint, and like at 100 days out, they were like, "You probably should never do a dab again because it's water." And I'm like, "Okay." And 100 days out, I'm like, "I'm good. I'm good. My lungs are fine. They're telling me they're fine." So I'm back to normal smoking weed again, which makes me happy. Um,
Nice.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it was a wild ride. But right here, May, coming up beginning of May will be my 1 year. They call it your birthday because you die in there, so it's your new birthday. Which is funny. I was in the hospital for it on my birthday, so my new birthday is my real birthday.
That's crazy how that worked out.
Yeah, so whatever. So here I am,
That's amazing, dude.
kicking it hard to kill, as they say.
I appreciate you sharing that story. I mean, it's almost like a Cronenberg movie or something, you know?
I never expected nothing like that to happen to me, Steve. Never.
I don't
Like
think I don't think
I had
anybody does.
I had a hard life growing up, and there's a bit of selfishness to me that's like, haven't you kicked me enough, life? Did I really need cancer on top of this? And I had to work through that a bit and get back into a positive headspace. And I know I kind of disappeared from stuff, internet and whatnot, for a while because me, I'm not the most public person, so I didn't want to like struggle with this too publicly.
Hmm.
Like Nikki put up a GoFundMe for it, and that was one of the most terrifying things ever. Like for me, I'm like, I can't ask people for help. I'm the one that helps people, like, but people were happy to help. So that was great because cancer has so many unexpected expenses that insurance doesn't cover. We'd be so far underwater at this point. So,
Hey man, sometimes it doesn't hurt to reach out, and uh you're fortunate to have a loving wife like Mickey and friends to help you out. So you, like you said, you've always been there for other people, so you are deserving of getting something from somebody else, you know.
a lot of good people in my life, a lot of them, I'm blessed that way.
Mm. And the record store that you and Mickey have.
1909, but
Oh,
yeah,
no, I'm sorry, yeah, my bad.
it's a street address. We figured we'd keep it real easy on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been going for 10 years now. She just renewed her lease. Um, doing great. We got Record Store Day coming up. That's going to be bananas. There's a Taylor Swift release. So when
Ah, yes.
that's
Swifties time.
oh boy, they like do you remember back in the day when we were young and you had to sleep outside to get concert tickets? You know, like you actually had to go to the box office and stand in line. And that was the only way. That was before Ticketmaster online and before the internet and stuff like that. Well, these Swifties will do that for Record Store Day. They will come to the store the Friday before, and when Mickey's open, and be like, when can we set up out front? And she'll be like, 7 p.m. once from closed and home. And so we'll be watching the security cameras. And at 7 p.m., these Swifties are there with their little tents and their sleeping bags and their cots. Their moms sleep in the car right in the parking lot outside, you know, and they do their little camp out. And it's like, hey, live your life, have fun.
Hey, I gotta admit, it's kind of cool that that still happens in this day of age. So, in a way, I'm sure it's a pain in the ass, but the fact that there's people that are that into an artist to go through that trouble that we used to do back in the day, they still exist, you know?
It's a community thing. You're stuck there for 12 hours. You got to talk to the people around you, and you start talking about music and start talking about your life. And now the next morning when the store opens, you got a dozen new friends that you didn't have a day ago. And
Exactly.
it's the same thing we did. It's a great big cycle. It's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And the Swifties community, they're strong.
Sure, boy, are they? Don't mess with them. Don't
Don't
mess
lift
with
the
them at
Swifties.
all. No way.
You get any cool stuff in recently, like new music that
Man. What have I been listening to? The new Spirit World album came out pretty recently. I love that band. It's like if you mix like the Super Suckers and Slayer and hardcore together, which
huh.
doesn't sound like it would really mix, but boy, that band is so good. Trying to think of some other the new Wake album that just came out
Ooh.
recently. I'll tell you what, they don't make bands like that anymore. They
It it truly is special to get them back in our lives because I mean yeah, like you said, there's nothing like it. It
No, they're one of those the sludge OGs from 20 years ago. And so many of the Baroness and Matt Kyless is gone. Baroness and Mastodon kind of play radio rock now, you know. A lot of the really nastiness of sludge doesn't seem to be around anymore. And I thought maybe it was fading away. And Wake just came back and were like, hold up, we
we
remember all how to do this. Don't worry. Those nasty spiral riffs, they just never get old.
and the thing I love about them is they intertwine their southern influences in their music too. Like it sounds like it came from Arkansas, you know, like
CT sounds like a revival preacher that just decided to be in a metal band one day, you know, and you're not going
yeah,
to get that anywhere else than the Deep South.
exactly. Yeah, that record is special, and especially for it being Rest came out in what, 2014?
13 years ago.
13 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I gotta say, some Sleep came back and people had doubts, and Sciences was a really good album.
Yeah.
I think these bands, like, they were good bands to start with. So I don't know why people doubt that they still have it in them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I, yeah, I definitely had no doubt if Wake ever came back that they wouldn't release a crushing record. There's no
Yeah,
doubt in my mind.
right. Exactly.
Especially with the climate of the world right now, it was a perfect time for that album to come out.
What a drop. We all needed some songs like that right now. Just get a little of that catharsis out, screaming at the universe. CT's talking about wizards and shit, like
Yeah,
it's all good. We're
yeah.
into it. We're into it.
Oh man, so are you doing any music now?
Yes. So now that I'm kind of back in the groove of things, a year out of it, I had a project that I actually started before. I think we started it pre-COVID. My nephew, shout out CJ if you watch this, he went to Dr. Dre's Beats Academy in LA. He's a very talented at making like hip hop beats and stuff like that. So, we got to talking and we were like, hey, we should work on a little project together. So we just kicked it off by like making a couple like beats that we were like, we'll see if we do anything with it. We made a couple more, and finally I'm like, I think we got a bit of a vibe here. Hold on. And I showed him remember Juice Newton's Angel of the Morning, that song?
Yeah.
I sent him that. I said, I got a challenge for you. Let's see if we can turn this into a beat. Took a couple weeks, but we did it. So at that point, we had 5 songs. And I started sending them to some friends, like, hey, you want to do anything on this? And the first two to jump in was my best friend Adam from Sonolith in Las Vegas, who you guys stayed with him, I'm sure, a couple times.
Oh yeah.
We grew up together back in New York. He plays bass. He played bass on a few Godhunter things when I needed him, so he jumped in and did the bass on it. Clay from Mountaineer did guitar on a couple things. Greg from Leaving is doing guitar on a couple things. I'm doing some guitar on it. So I sent you a little snippet of it the other day.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to a point where I don't really know what genre it is anymore. The basis of it was hip hop, but like the stuff we're adding over it sounds like doomy, psychish. So we've been jokingly calling it trap doom. We'll see if that fixed it all. So yeah, I'm definitely working on that. It's getting going good, and there will be one last Godhunter release at some point,
I was
which
gonna ask about that. So.
it'll probably just be me. I've been writing a bunch of I don't want to call it like Sun, maybe more Kanye style drone, a little angrier, droney, blackened kind of stuff, just on guitar, where I might just grab Adam and a drummer and just record it and put that out, because there's a band from Australia now called Godhunter. They just decided to put a space in the middle of it.
Of course they did.
And I reached out to them and I was like, hey guys, you can't just steal another band's name. Like, you can't just call your band Weed Eater, because, it already exists. And they were basically like, fuck you, sue me.
Wow.
Because they're in Australia and I'm an American. It's really hard to press a copyright case there. My American lawyer is like, yeah, I'd have to actually get an Australian lawyer. Like, how much money do you want to put into this? I'm like, $0. I'm kind of retired, so I'm not going to spend a lot of money defending my copyright. But what I can do is release one more Godhunter album. That's because their band is hot trash, by the way. It's like like mall metal, like weak Lamb of God, like stuff that might have been cool 15 years ago, but I don't even know why somebody's writing this kind of music nowadays. So I think, I'm a petty, spiteful person inside, which is a quality. Look at Kendrick Lamar last year. He turned petty into a Super Bowl appearance. So
exactly.
Yeah, I feel a little petty, and I'm going to release another Godhunter release just to show them that Godhunter is not dead as they said it was, and I can continue to release stuff under that name whenever I want, because it's my name, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there might be one more Spite Godhunter release that drops at some point.
Yeah, you should call the album "Are You Really From New Zealand?" Get them really mad.
I think I'm actually, it's been a long name, but I think I'm gonna call it "You Can Take My Name, but You Can Never Take My Style."
There you go. I like it.
Something like that. Just keep with the pettiness.
Yeah. Keep it real, and then just make it as nasty as you can, which I'm sure you will. And
yeah.
I
got a lot of, believe me, I got cancer just makes you mad, and I got a lot of anger in me to get out. So I'm sure it'll be nice and angry.
And that's beautiful thing about having music in your life is you can channel all that into it.
Oh boy, I don't know what I've been able to do the last couple of years. Like, I just spent so many hours laying in that stupid hospital bed just listening to albums to get through time, because I can't read. Your eyes are like blurry through it and whatnot. And TV was just annoyed me. So it was just like, just fall back into music for a couple weeks, and that was what got me through. So
Yeah, that music's always there for us in our times of need, man. Always.
absolutely, absolutely is.
The trap doom stuff, you plan on putting it out there for people to hear?
Oh yeah, that'll get a release, and I think with that, if it turns up where I like, I might get a PR run behind it and see if someone actually wants to put it out, because what I'm hearing so far, like it's a vibe, it's cool as shit, and I don't think it exists in this form yet, you know. So yeah, I want to put it out there in the world and see if it maybe it sticks. Who knows? Charles Bradley didn't hit it big till he was 67 years old.
Exactly.
I don't think there's any stop sign in front of any of us.
No, not at all. And it's kind of like, with Destroyer going on hiatus, it's kind of been good for us because I started Temple of Love when we were still a band, but the thing is, Destroyer Light was a lifestyle. Like it was our life. And I think we decided that we all have other projects and we need to break from that and do that. Because it's just, I don't know where I was getting from where you were talking.
It becomes a responsibility.
Yeah, yeah.
When you guys get to the point where you were getting with Destroyer of Light, you're on one tour and you're in your laptop planning the next tour, and there's no real time off. It becomes this thing that you're doing every day. And if you step back, you realize, like, wow, this thing is taking a lot of my time. And I do have other things I want to do.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I had other music that I wanted to get out of my system. And we just finished the Temple of Love debut album. Took 6 years, but I figured that you have a shot to do it right. Take your time, be patient with it. And that's what I wanted to do with this project. And I'm happy with the results we have. So we'll see what transpires for Shop and Labels. But
Right.
I'm definitely happy with the direction we had gone and where we're at. And it's a different part of me as a person and my music. So it's kind of good to get that out of my system after doing Destroyer for 12 years of my life.
How fun is it to be in a band with Susie too?
It's great. We're in like 3 projects together too. We're in that Plasmatics tribute band. We got
Okay.
Temporal Love, and then we got another recording project. But it's great having that creative kindredness that we share. The funny thing though about this band is that we're both very creative and opinionated about things. And she's like, with my old band, I was used to taking the creative drive and just not having somebody else be there to
Right.
also do it. And I was like, yeah, we'll work it out. Like I'll win some, you'll win some, we'll balance it out. So we did really good with this first album though.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's how you found somebody special, if you can be in a band with them. Because boy, nothing sparks arguments like being in a van, right?
Oh yeah.
I'll
Oh
tell you
man.
what. Tell you what. I know I was listening to second with the one you had Keegan on, second or third episode. And he's like, yeah, Dave was always yelling at his band, like not yelling, but like just trying to get them to act like normal humans. And I'm like, exactly. Can you guys just act like normal people for one day?
Yeah. Stop acting like children. Let's act like adults. Let's go. Come on.
Right. Like darn it. Do I have to? So I always have to be the dad in the room.
Someone has to be the dad.
That's really it. It's funny too that Keegan said now he's the dad in Slumbering Son.
Yeah, I had to.
That's a circle of life right there, buddy.
Yeah, it's great because he actually, I think he mentioned in the podcast, he came up to me one day. It's before Destroy. It was like before our like last show or last run of shows, and he's like, I just want to tell you that I really appreciate everything that you did with Destroyer. Like I see all the shit that you went through now. And I was like, I appreciate that a lot, man. It means a lot. And I'm glad that you're learning and growing too, because I feel like it's important if people want to play music they need to learn this process and see what it's like, because unless you are the main person in the band doing things you don't understand.
Exactly. I've had a few ex-band members say something similar that, like, 10 years has gone by since Godhunter did anything. So, like, everything's in hindsight now. And they said, like, it kind of felt like maybe you were yelling at me at the time, but now that I'm 10 years older, I realized you were just trying to get us to act normal, to just be a little bit responsible. And
Yeah.
oh, I now as a like as a dad, and some of them are, I appreciate it because, like, I get it now because I'm doing the same thing with my kid that you were doing with me. It's like, I wasn't trying to be your dad, but sometimes people need just a little bit of dadness to get them going in the right direction. Um, if I can get philosophical for a minute,
Go for it.
I always I feel that people in bands fall into two categories, right? There's the consequentialists, and then there are people that, like you and myself, for instance, I feel work under what I call virtue ethics. And I don't call this is a term that's around, but we do things because it's right. And it may be harder to do it that way, but it's the right way to do it. And we do things that are right, and it may sometimes prevent us from getting here that we want to be, or getting here where we want to be more quickly. But in our hearts, we're doing it the right way. A lot of people in bands are consequentialists. They don't necessarily care about what is right or what is wrong, and they are just doing the thing that feels good at the moment, right? And bands can have three consequentialists, but they better have one person like you or me in the band, because otherwise it is going to be a hot mess.
And it's going to
I,
implode.
that's it. And I don't care what band you're in, there's always going to be a dad or a mom.
Yeah.
It has to be, but it's not going to work any other way.
And I mean, that's the one thing I was appreciative of having Penny in the band, because he was like my counterpart. He was like the grandpa and I was the dad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because sometimes I can get out of control too. It's tour, and sometimes he needs to step up and be that guy. So it was always nice having a counterpart like him with me. I mean, I'm older now, so I can control myself a lot better. But yeah, you always need someone to be in control. Otherwise, it just will blow up.
Just the wheels will come off way too quick.
Yeah.
We've seen too many bands function like that. When we played festivals and bands show up and they're like, "Hey, can I borrow your drumsticks?" It's like, wait a minute, you're a drummer and you showed up to a festival without drumsticks of your own?
Oh man.
I think that's something you might want to write yourself a note before you leave the house in the morning, like, bring my drumsticks, bring my kick drum pedal. Just
That's just so simple things.
Simple things. But it's wild that sometimes you have to tell people the simple things, and sometimes they don't like it when they're told the simple thing. That's what makes it hard. You've been there, I've been there. It's you're trying to say something to someone nice that's helpful, but they just don't want to hear it. And sometimes you just got to let them be okay. Sometimes a dad thing to do is, I got to let you fail.
Exactly.
Dick in New York City at St. Vitus. Sometimes I got to let you just fall on your face until you realize how bad it was that whatever it was you just did, how bad that thing was. But then I'll pick you up tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I got you. But this is your lesson.
Yeah. Some people need to make the mistakes on their own to learn. And, that's kind of how I was raised by my parents. It's like they would tell me things, but they ultimately knew I would make mistakes and I'd learn from them. And I feel like that's how some people grow. Is like you can tell them things, but they'll be like, "No, I got this," and then you do it, and then you're like, "Oh shit, okay, no, I was wrong."
Yeah.
But yeah, I always, even in the starting of touring and all that stuff, I always was like, we got to teach these young people how it is, especially if they're green. Like Tell them how long they have. Tell them how long they have to get off the stage, how long they have to get ready, rather than berate them. But I mean, obviously, if they act like they know what they're doing, they're being assholes, then yeah, go ahead, give them all the shit in the world. But I think as elders, we got to try to, explain to them like, this isn't right. This is not the way it's done. And you need to work on that.
It's hard in music because so much of this has a level of selfishness to it,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's very rare when people are completely altruistic and really just want other people to, even myself who started labels and festivals to give other people platforms. I still liked my own band and I still liked having a good crowd and playing a good show. um but like you have to, there's so many people in music don't really have that altruistic nature, and it gets a little bit too selfish and they're not willing to give those lessons out. And you see young people, young bands like falter and whatnot, when it's just like, hey, if they just had a little push in the right direction by somebody like you that's been there and done that or whatnot, that band could succeed.
Yeah.
Music needs more lifting up and a little bit less selfishness, in my opinion.
No, yeah, I agree. And I mean, I feel like there's, depending on where you're at and what music you're in, there are people that are very community based.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's what I feel like once you get to like a certain kind of level, it gets a lot harder to find that though.
a lot harder. Yeah, and uh, I feel that level used to be a lot higher back in the 90s or early 2000s. And then, like, maybe, 15 years ago, when a lot of these boutique labels opened up and everything, all of a sudden that kind of dropped a bit. Um, but that's okay. We want people to succeed. We want everybody to get what they want out of music. So we just keep pushing. Just keep pushing and keep pushing the right things and keep pushing the right people over time. And um, keep being the best example that the older dudes like us can be.
Yeah. And that's what I hope to be the more I continue playing and doing this.
I don't mind. I'm old. I don't mind standing in the back of the room anymore and just appreciating things. It's cool. It's
Yeah.
I, I'm not I'm not I'm not upset about like being the oldest dude in the room. I was there by the last tour. I was a little like, maybe I think I'm getting a little too old to be in the back of a van, which is fair.
Yeah.
But I'm not too old to help. Never be too old to help people.
Hmm. Yeah, I get being in the back of a van gets harder the older you get, that's for sure. And the last couple of years of Destroyer Light, how like, Penny and I are in our 40s. Keegan's now in his mid 30s, and our bass player's about the same age, mid 30s. But we got to a point where I told the guys, I was like, look, we're stay at the houses of the people we trust and know. If we don't know people, we're staying in a hotel. And like we did that the last few years we toured, and like it was a game changer because we can't stay at someone's house who wants to party till 4 or 5 in the morning anymore.
No. Um, did I ever tell you about the worst house we ever stayed in?
I don't think this is a perfect
It was in your home state. I'm not going to say the
Texas.
city because the person whose house it be, there's a possibility they could listen to this one day, and I appreciate their hospitality, but I don't want to personally insult them. But you walk into the bathroom and there's lice combs all over the back of the toilet, and I'm just like, nope, I'm not touching a thing. I'm gonna sleep in the van. See you guys in the morning. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And it's nights like that where I didn't want to sleep in the back of the van in Texas. I think it was March or something. It was freezing cold, but I'm also not getting crabs or scabies or whatever is in this house with like shit on the walls and stuff in the bathroom, food on the walls in the kitchen. And like, again, I appreciate the hospitality, but that is not a healthy way to live when you're already on tour, which is not a healthy thing to begin with. At some
Exactly.
point, you got to be like, hey, you're exactly right. If we don't have a reliable place to stay, just burn the money on a Motel 6.
Yeah, it's best to get at least 6 hours of sleep knowing that you have a place to crash and you don't need to worry about anything. Uh, my favorite one to tell is we played in Johnson City, Tennessee, and it was a sound guy, the bartender, and one other person.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like we still played like, we played like we were playing in front of a bunch of people and they respected that. The bartender like gave us drinks all night. He ended up paying us money still. Uh, and at that point we're like, hey, do you know anybody that we can crash with? And this guy's like, yeah, we got a friend that you can crash with. And we go there and we walk in the house and it was like a hoarder house, but then there was also like that much like dust built on things.
Mm-mm.
Penny and Jeff immediately like went to the van. Me and Keegan
Penny ain't
are
having that. Penny would not have that. I know.
Keegan and I are like, I guess we're doing this, aren't we?
Oh boy.
We had a whiskey bottle, so we're like, all right, let's take a couple nips and down this.
No, that's just no.
But yeah, I don't miss those days too much anymore. Give me just a bed. I don't care. I'll pay $150 a night, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you gotta take care of yourself out there.
It's already a stress ball of a situation anyway. Why make it more stressful for yourself?
We're all a bunch of masochists.
Yeah, it's true.
Why are we doing this otherwise?
Exactly.
People are like, oh, isn't going to on tour must be so much fun? Not really.
It can be, but
there are fun moments. And I've always described this to people. There's when you get to the venue, you walk inside and you figure out where everything needs to go and you get all your stuff out of the van. From that point, about until you play, you can have fun. And then a little bit after you play, until the bar starts to clear out, it's fun.
yeah.
Everything else is work, though.
Yep.
Everything else is work. It's not 16 hours of fun and 8 hours of sleep. It's like 2 hours of fun, 14 hours of work, and 2 hours of sleep. 6 hours of driving.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of normal people, I'll call them normal because we ain't normal. They think it is a vacation or whatever, and they're like, no, it's more work than you even realize. Like, I don't think most people could do this unless you really loved it, you know?
I think that's why a lot of people go on one tour, you know. It's like professional sports. Only very few people actually make it to the NFL or whatever. But a lot of people try out and will go to college and play sports and they'll go to those training camps and maybe they keep pushing it for a couple of years and they get a trainer and they try more camps and whatnot. But eventually they're like, nah, man, this ain't for me. I think that's somewhat it is with music. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of people get out and they do that first tour and then they get home and they're like, no, that part's not for me. I like playing music and I can record in my bedroom and I'm fine.
Or you see like the member change immediately.
Immediately. There's the two core guys are still there, and then they got two other guys with them now. Which, admittedly, Godhunter had some member changes over the year because I was the one stable member from the beginning to the end. And then, some people, my first drummer Ryan did not like touring at all, and that was a perfect example. He was like, "No, I'm out." Max and Lauren that were in, it was still transitioning from Blood Regime to Godhunter at the time, but they couldn't handle touring from a responsibility level, like getting road pickles and spilling the pickle juice all over themselves. And I'd be like, guys, I asked you no road pickles in the van, and then like the next day there's more road pickles, and they're like, oh, I don't understand why this isn't easier. And I'm like, you guys are making it harder on yourself. You're drinking all day. You're eating terribly. You're not sleeping at night.
That's the fast up. That's the fast up.
Just be normal. So, you've got a bit of of attrition until you figure out the people, like in your case, you find your Penny and you find your Tegan and you find the people that'll stick with you and can do it and can handle the wildness of what touring is.
Yeah, I feel truly fortunate that me, Keegan, and Penny stuck it out for 12 years together through all of it, you know.
3 people for 12 years is a victory, man.
It really is.
Victory.
And we're still friends. We don't hate each other. We're very supportive of our new bands. We go out and see each other play, and it's a camaraderie. We love each other, you know. It's
Yeah. I'm happy about the same thing. The main dudes in Godhunter, we still talk all the time. We're totally cool, and it's everyone's like, it was a fucking blast. We had a great time.
Yeah, man. That's the way you always gotta look at it through all the bad and crazy stuff. At least you gotta look at the accomplishments and not the failures, you know.
It's such an amazing privilege to be able to create art and then go out and show it to people, but then have people like it.
Yeah.
That's really it. The people that come up after you show, and we're in smaller bands. It may not be hundreds of people coming up to you after your show like your Metallica, but it might be one dude that comes up after the show and he's like, I love your band. I love your lyrics. They mean a lot to me. It changed my perspective on this. And this stuff like that. It's a gift, man.
Yeah, there was a show we played in I think it was Fort Lauderdale. It was with Shroud Eater. And after we were done playing, this guy came up to me and he's like, I just want you to know how much your music means to me. He's like, just like I feel so cathartic, like when I get in a dark place or get depressed, like your music lifts me up. And I was like, those words right there, I was like, I've done my job,
It's good for another week on the road.
Yeah.
I'm good. That's the energy I needed to get by.
Yeah.
We played a show in Salem one time at Kodo.
Oh yeah.
A little sushi bar. And there was a couple that drove up from Boston to see Godhunter. There was 2 kids that drove from like Western Massachusetts or Vermont or something. And then there was a couple that drove down from Maine to see us. And I'm talking to them afterwards and I'm like, you guys, I gave them a bunch of free merch and stuff for driving so far. I'm like, it's so amazing that you guys came so far. And I'm like, you guys have never come anywhere near the East Coast before. Like, yeah, well, we're driving to see this. And it's like that like, wow, somebody like, got in a car and drove an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours to see my silly band play a show in a sushi bar. Boy, if that's not something to remember for the rest of your life, I don't know what you need.
Yeah.
That's right here forever.
Yeah, man. That's all those moments make it worth it.
There's that's one of the fun. I think we've talked about that before. That's just one of the fun shows because, boy, we did not expect that night to be so good.
Well, yeah, it was like when Keegan and I were talking how it goes from the lowest to the highest of the highs, like one night after the other, man.
The night before was so bad. Immortal Bird ate shit. You guys ate shit. We ate shit. And we're like, I remember you, me, and Ray from Immortal Bird looking at each other and like, it's St. Vitus. How did we fuck this up? How do all 3 of us kind of strike out? But that's how it happens. And then, like, I was so mad at Dick that night.
Yeah.
I almost sent him home on a plane. I was like, boy, you got pushed it to the limit. And then the next night in Salem is one of the most fun shows of that tour. And it's like, that is tour in a nutshell for you.
Yep.
Horrible night, awesome night. There is no telling what you're going to get. It's a coin flip.
And it was great that it was like the next night that was a great night, because it would suck if it was like a bad night again.
Oh boy, that would have been
two in a row would have really sucked. So it was nice to have like that redemption show. It's like, okay, we're good. You
gotta love shows like that. You guys ever play the Big House in Flagstaff?
No, we never. I don't think we ever played.
It might have been before your time. it was a long running punk house in Flagstaff for a long time. We went up there for a weekend show, just a one off. Like Kalesa had played, I think, the weekend before, and just tore up the place. I think there's still a video on YouTube of them playing, and we watched it and we're like, oh, this is going to be fun. And we get there, and it is the most bananas night. There's just kids climbing in the windows. Um, those nights where you have to stop after the first song and pick up your pedal board and turn around and put it behind you in front of the amp and play the show with your back to the audience because they're leaning on you and kicking on your pedal boards and stuff. It was one of those nights. One kid passed out on the floor next to me. Some big dude just picked him up, put him on like a baby on top of the bass cabinet, and this kid just curled up like a kitten and slept on the top of the bass cabinet and the cabinet, the whole room is going like rocking for the whole show, people falling all over each other, and I'm just like, this is everything it's supposed to be, man. This is why we do it. This nights like Kodo, when you got that, when you guys played that Terror Fest, I think it was a Primitive Man night you were playing with.
It was
Neurosis' night. I forget what.
Atlas
Moth. You were on with Atlas.
We were on with Atlas Moth. That's how it became Princess Stavros and all that.
That place was stupid packed that night, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a good time.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, we're forever grateful for you putting us on that. Like, we made a lot of friends that night, and it was just a special event, and we were happy to be a part of that.
That's the whole reason I started the festivals. There used to be a thing in Tucson called Club Crawl, which was awesome. It was kind of a bit like Tucson South by Southwest. On Congress Street, all the different bars would book bands, but it would be completely different genres and whatnot. That was the first time I ever saw Red Fang play in the vaudeville to like 15 people or something like that, and it was so fun every year because you would meet new friends, you would meet bands that were also from Tucson that you had no idea about this band because they're in a completely different genre, but now you're like, you're my best friend and I love your band now. So when that ended, that's when Dave and Larry and myself were like, we need to start something new like that for Tucson, but we're just going to tweak it a little bit and do it our way with bands we like and the folks we like and whatnot. And that was a big driving idea for that is, the Southwest needs something where all these bands from the Southwest can get together once a year, hang out, be friends, make friends, plan tours, plan shows, make those connections that bands need. There was never any moment in any of the Terror Fest, Northwest, Southwest, Austin, when we're like, we're doing this for money. We're going to get rich throwing the festival.
No,
not a second. We're going to do a really fun thing for all our friends.
And it's cool that it's still going in Northwest, man.
Yep. And I don't know, is Dusty still doing? I know he changed it to Oblivion Access. Is he still running with that?
I don't think they're doing it anymore. I forget. Why am I forgetting the other dude's name? The younger guy.
I can't. I know you're talking about, but his name is skipping me at the second too.
He moved to Brooklyn. I know he moved out of town. And they kept it going, I think, for a couple more years. But I think they might have taken this year off. I'm not sure if they're going to keep on doing it.
Well, at least Northwest is still going, and like again, that's that cool. You never truly die until the last person stops talking about you, right?
Yeah.
And we have left behind things, albums and festivals, and my record label will exist forever.
Yeah.
Even though it's not active, you look at on Discogs and it'll be there forever. Those things become immortal too. And it's a nice little feeling to have a little bit of immortality in this very brief life that we get.
Exactly. You could be like, look, I did a band, I toured, I did a label, I did a festival. I mean, those are huge things. And then you have you and Mickey have a record store. So it's like you're still involved in music and you're still getting the music out there and stuff. I'm sure you got a local music
In
stuff.
here, I can't get it out of me. You know, I can't stop doing it.
I'm sure you got a lot of local, local band section for all the local bands.
Yep.
Yep.
Always. I wish we were big enough to do like local shows and whatnot, but thankfully, one of the other record stores in town is big enough, so they finally started doing them. They had Gaytheist play there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they tore it up. I love those dudes. They're so
That's
good.
great.
But yeah, Vancouver's all right. It's not Portland, but we're cool with not being Portland. We got kind of our own little scene going on over here.
Yeah, and you're away from the city craziness.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's always good.
Not a city person.
Yeah.
I'm a country boy, and cities make me nervous to begin with.
I mean, it's not too far away to go see a show there either, so that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to say? Like,
I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm happy to be getting back in the world now after all this stuff. I've missed a lot of people. It's real good to see your face.
It's really good to see your face too.
Talk to you again. So I guess for folks that are out there, I'm just so happy to be here and doing stuff. And that's really it. Like I said back in the beginning, my whole attitude towards life has changed because of the cancer. It's a lot happier David now, a lot happier to be here. And that's about it really for me. Just happy to keep trucking. I'm glad to see my friends doing stuff like you with a podcast. I was stoked that, it's such a cool idea to just get two band people to talk about band stuff. And I hope it blows up because already from listening to some of this stuff, there's good information in here that young bands, they should listen to these things.
I appreciate it, man.
Notes, there's a lot of stuff that us old heads in might be graybeards, but we've been there and done that. It can help you avoid some obstacles.
Yeah, it's something that I considered doing for a while now. And, like I did back in the day, I did booking to help bands out, and it was just a passion.
Heavy friends booking.
Yeah, I don't miss booking anymore.
No.
I do not.
Steve, that is the one thing that I did in the world of music that I don't miss. We tried pretty hard with booking both our own bands and booking other people's, and I'll tell you, that is the hardest thing in music.
It really is.
Harder than writing a song. Booking a tour, a successful tour, is the hardest thing to do, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. And that was kind of thing, like I always like giving back. Like I like giving back to the community. I like giving back to people. And so I thought, well, podcast is one, a fun thing to do. Two, it's a good way to catch up with my musician friends that I don't get to see very often. And three, yeah, maybe there's some insightful information for people that they can get something out of it,
Yeah.
So we'll see how this continues to progress over time.
I got your back always, Steve.
I appreciate you, David. I love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too, bud. It's been great talking to you, and keep this up. You are doing a good thing, and I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it, dude. Thank you. Till next time, brother.
All right, buddy. We'll see you. Take care.
Right. You too. Bye.